Black Panther Party that they can do anything they want to us. We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that. You're going to have to say that I am a proletarian. I am the people. I'm not the pig. You got to make a distinction. And the people are going to have to attack the pigs. The people are going to have to stand up against the pigs.
Introduce yourself again, to the platform.
So I'm Kwame Che Shakur, current chairman of the Second Rainbow Coalition, former minister of culture of the New African Black Panther Party, and the chairman for the Black Liberation Party.
Excellent. And like I asked you, what some of your background, did you grow up, with in a single family home, mom and dad, you had brothers, sisters, give us a little background, on your family.
Yeah, so my dad and mom was together all the way up to the time I was 8 years old. We lived out on the west side of Indianapolis called the Land. My mother ended up marrying my art teacher, Mr. Hayes. Everybody here in Indianapolis know him. He was probably one of the first people in my life that was doing community stuff, but it was really circumscribed around like the sports that he was doing for the Indianapolis public schools. It was always a program going on, basketball program going on somewhere with him. I remember in the beginning, and him be the coach of both teams, the ref, and running the time clock. This program is, so the kids had something to do after school and stuff. You know what I mean? So he was probably one of my first introductions to like giving back to the community. It had a big effect on me later in life when I sat back and thought about it. But yeah, he married my mom when I was not too long after my father and my mom got divorced and moved us out to the northwest side, 71st Street, Georgetown area. So yeah, I always had two parents in the house. I ain't gonna say I always gave my stepfather the credit that he deserved coming up later in life. When I look back, I was like, man, he was always a good dude that was down for us and stuff. You know what I mean?
That's real. So how did you go from having, a support base, coming up in a good home to, ending up in prison and things of that nature? Like, what occurred? Like, can you give us a little insight on that?
Okay. So, I wrote an autobiography, so I go in that in depth. Check it out, My Search for Answers, Truth and Meaning, the autobiography of Kwame Shakur. So just a summary, though, my parents gave me the best they could. But like I was talking about in my autobiography, when we moved to the suburbs, that was like living in two worlds, you know what I mean? For us, especially me being the oldest, because we really wasn't suburban kids and had suburban economics, you know what I mean? We was like that first or second probably I would say about that second generation that was moved out to the suburbs. Now everybody lived out in the suburbs since gentrification, you know what I mean? But moving out there, we was, paycheck to paycheck, you know what I mean? So that had a big impact on me living out there around people that had a lot of material luxuries and stuff like that. And then I'm going to school with the same 5 pair of pants and 1 pair of shoes every day for a whole year, you know what I mean? And that was had an impact on me when I started realizing, like I wasn't like the people that was more well out here in the suburbs and stuff, you know what I mean? But also I look at how, we as a culture raised generations, you know what I mean? Like, the religion aspect had a big impact on me. Like, I never internalized that stuff in a healthy way. I look back in retrospect, I realized like I had a colonial mentality based on how they indoctrinated us, with that religion stuff. You know what I mean? We had to go. We went to a Christian fundamentalist church. You know what I'm saying? Like you going to hell if you don't do this and that.
Right.
But
no jewelry, no anything. Yeah.
Like how in the hell there's this Jesus person, you know what I mean, and God like sanctioned slavery and stuff in this Bible. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I never understood that type of stuff, and you know, how I internalized religion had a very traumatic experience for me. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I was angry most of my life. I was like, you know what I mean? This, you know, I didn't have the words for it at the time, but I was resisting against my colonial indoctrination. And you know how they were trying to internalize us with this second class citizen status with religion. You know what I'm saying? And like every figure is a white person that's supposed to save us and stuff. You know what I mean? Like I just couldn't identify with a lot of that stuff. Even though I believed it, it just had a negative impact on me. So I was angry most of my life. I hated life most of my life. So I grew up with that grudge on my shoulder, where when I went to the streets, it was easy to, you know, start doing robberies and stuff. That was my way to purge a lot of that inferiority complex on the world, you know. Turn the gun against myself, so I turn it against our community. You know what I mean? So that's the start of the criminalization process and the projection of my colonial mentality on the world, and took me down the path for criminality at a young age.
That's real right there. You know, while you was locked up, is that where you wrote your book at?
Well, that's where I started. I wrote that book by about 5 times. And right before I got out, I wrote it one more time, just the very beginning. I think I wrote a prologue and by about 2 chapters. So by the time I got out, several years out, you know, my wife, she was like, I think you need to write a book. And I was like, well, really, I already got one. You know what I mean? So I kept the prologue, and everything else came from my new voice that I found after being out here. I read a book right before I got out by Dale Carnegie. I guess he was Andrew Carnegie, cousin or somebody. But he wrote books about speeches and how to get good speeches. And after I read that book, for some reason, it helped me understand how to articulate myself in the best voice that I'm trying to capture. You know what I mean? That's why I wrote that book so many times, because I didn't feel like I fully captured that complete thought. You know what I mean? So by the time I picked it up and started writing again, I had already found my voice. And so, like I said, I knocked that book off in 8 months. Came out November 2021. So yeah,
that's real. Hey, congratulations. Like honestly, yeah, congratulations. With that said, so when you what did you find your new inspiration? Was it when you got incarcerated, or was it when you was out? You know, you got into, you know, the pan blackness, or the pan Africanism, or the pan, you know, pro black, I should say, pro brown, pro people. You know what I'm saying? When did you get this concept? When did you get all of this?
Okay, so I want to say it was 2000. I went to the SUE, which is the Supermax, when I was in prison. Me and a friend of mine ended up beating up a guard. I was wild when I first came down. They gave me a year on Supermax. And so I had to be set down for a whole year, 23 hours a day, locked in a cell by myself. You know what I'm saying? And a brother sent me this Vita Wawa 2 journal, which had 3 speeches by the Black Panther leader Fred Hampton in there. So I started reading it, and I'm over here like, damn, like this dude 21 years old. I was 21 years old at the time. But as I was reading it and learning about Fred Hampton and the Black Panthers and stuff like that, I was like, damn, I was real inspired. You know what I mean? I was like, man, I really want to be like this dude right here. Even though he was the same age as me at that time when they assassinated him, but I was 21 years on lockup at that time. So Fred Hampton really was that spark that made me think like, damn, man, I really can do something different with my life. And I think this dude gonna show me some answers I've been looking for. You know what I'm saying? And so Fred Hampton opened up the door for me to start studying my history, particularly the radical militant history. You know, Malcolm X, you know, Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton, George Jackson. Then I start to spread out to Franz Fanon. Then I read, you know, Marx, Lenin, Mao. And from there, it just took me on this revolutionary journey of self, you know, class consciousness, world consciousness. And they showed me that, helped me put a circle around what I had always been angry about, but just didn't know what I was angry about. And it's how this capitalist and privilege system works. You know what I'm saying? So that started my journey to where I am to this day. But it's also helped me while I was in prison to keep my mind strong and the struggle in there. Because a lot of stuff I'm doing out here, I was already doing in prison. You know what I mean? Like organized organizations. All those brothers that was in the joint with me, like I know all of them individuals, we struggled together, we built unity together. So I brought some of them concepts, not only from the books I was reading, but the actual social practice I was actually doing in prison. So I took it to the streets, you know what I mean?
That's definitely real, and I commend you for that. You know, in those type of environments, how do you with different factions and different organizations, different mindsets, you know, how was you able to, you know, bring individuals together as a collective, you know, from different sides of the fence and have them work together as a unit? What was the common ground?
One thing I learned about the Black Panther Party, they 10-point program. It wasn't, you know, everybody talk about the Black Panther Party and they think about their ideology being revolutionaries. But one thing I learned from them is that they organized around the oppression that they all faced in the community. The 10-point program was talking about, you know, ending police brutality, education that's going to really teach our true history, healthcare, you know what I mean? Food, bread, clothing, all this other stuff, you know, that affects us. You know what I'm saying? Every last one of us can read that 10-point program of the original Black Panther Party and identify with it. It don't matter if you GD, Vice Lord, Crip, Blood, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, everyone can identify with those issues of oppression. You know what I mean? So I always took that as the way to organize was really not necessarily trying to build political ideological unity. It's really a more programmatic unity that's circumscribed around our oppression. So in prison, we was dealing with the police on a constant basis in there, the correctional officers and stuff, you know, jumping on brothers and stuff. And like I said, I caught 2 cases on the police in there. You know what I'm saying? They killed the brother the first 3 months I was in prison. This brother named Theodore McKenzie, you know, which politicized me unconsciously. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm like, damn, we ain't organizing around this. You know, a lot of us in here got murders and all this other stuff, got 60 years, 50 years. I wasn't in there for no murder. But I see these pigs kill somebody in there, and I'm like, they get away with it, and the state cover it up.
That's deep.
Moments like that, organizing around our oppression. You know what I mean? They locking us down, keeping us on lockdown unjustly for a long time, fighting for basic stuff. Like in my autobiography, I talk about at times we was fighting over trades. We was on lockdown and they kept on giving us cold sack lunches for a whole week, but their own policies say after a week we supposed to get a hot tray. And it was one time that we organized over that, you know what I mean? Trying to fight basic demands that's even in their own policies. You know what I'm saying? So that was an easy way to organize people in prison because we was all facing the same common oppressive conditions. You know what I'm saying? They didn't give a fuck what we claimed, what city we was from, you know, what religion, creed, whatever. They looked at us all as modern day slaves, and they would come in there and whoop my ass just like the next man's ass. So we all organized together. You know what I mean?
Real.
So I took that same concept out here, like I said, but it really started with understanding like the Black Panther Party, what they were saying, like we have to organize people based on the conditions that we commonly face. You know what I mean?
That's real. That's definitely real. So did the CEOs and, you know, the guards and things of that nature, did they treat you a little more differently than the other brothers and sisters, or the brothers, I should say, that's there? Because you organizing people, you know, you getting people to rally up, you know, for that, the injustices that's going on, you know, the treatment that's wrong that you is receiving from these people. So was they, you know, kind of focused on you a little bit harder, or they were giving you a little more of a problem because they see what you're doing? You know what I'm saying? You giving brothers, you know, idea, and you know, you forming brothers to come together, you know. So was it a little harder on you, your time?
I would say it was a combination of both. Like, some I was getting more harder time from some of them, and some of them they would leave me alone because they know I come at their ass. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
that's real.
It was a little bit of both. It just was depending on the officers and the institutions I was at. You know what I mean? Some institutions is way more fascist tendencies of oppression versus some of the other institutions. But overall, I feel like I made them respect me more than they respected a lot of the other brothers in there. That's probably the best answer I can give you.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that I didn't experience the same stuff that the brothers in experience, because it still was like hell. You know, I did, out of 18 years, I did 10 years on Supermax. Yeah, 10 years straight. One time for something I ain't do, which was 7 years I spent on Supermax and stuff. So I feel like at the end of the day, it was always a protracted struggle. At the end of the day, like, I was always had to fight for my humanity be recognized. You know what I'm saying? I was always, and that's not just me, but collectively fighting with the other brothers. Sometimes it didn't even have to happen to me. If you did something to a brother next to me, you know, then I'm gonna side with him, and we gonna ride out. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
We gonna demonstrate. You know what I mean?
So let me ask you, how does it feel to do 7 years for something you didn't do? How does that feel?
Man, that was like one of the first, honestly, big injustice that ever happened to me, because at this time of my bit, I was just trying to get in school, get my college knocked off, organize with people on the low, you did want and try to get closer to accomplishing certain things. So once I got back to society, I was better equipped to reintegrate out here. So to be sent to lockup for 7 years for something that was totally, and I realized it wasn't personal though. They were sending a lot of people to the SHU at this time just to fill cells because they had renovated one of the wings on the Supermax unit. So the state actually got more money by sending people to those units. So
wow.
Anything happened in any facility and they found a reason to put you on the SHU, they was shipping everybody down there. So I realized after a while, I was like, okay, this ain't really necessarily just about me. It's about money.
That's real. That's definitely real.
Yeah.
So go ahead, brother.
But I would say one thing that came out that is, you know, I turned my that injustice that happened to me into a triumph, because I'm the person I am today. Because it took me away all them years, put me on lockup, where all I had time to do was read books, study, and organize with the most hardcore brothers in a joint. So they made this person that's coming out here that's giving them problems. You know what I'm saying? But I turned that oppression into a triumph, where I can utilize that time. I utilize that time to really be the person I am today, to fight for, you know, our community. You know what I mean?
That's real. Hey, and with that being said, you know, do you ever think, because you said you look up to Fred Hampton, you know, you studied this man, you know, and you know, you following his footsteps, what he was kicking and what he was teaching to the public and what he was about. Have you ever thought about, you know, how he sacrificed his life, how the government, you know, took that brother out and things of that nature? Have you ever just sat back and thought, you know, hey, this possibly could happen to me for me doing what I'm doing? Have you ever had those thoughts?
Yeah, I actually talk about it a lot. Like, me and my wife, we talk about it all the time. But that's the reason why I move like I do, and the reason why I work as hard as I do, because that's even the reason why I put that book out there. So it's like, if you ever decide to turn me into a martyr, a martyr, my legacy gonna go on with a new generation of revolutionaries that's gonna keep it going forward. I always keep the mind frame that we have to create. We all started off as soldiers, but the point is become generals and to help other brothers and sisters become generals and stuff too. Replicate yourself and your ideals and as much as possible within the community and the masses and the various struggles, so that continues on. So they can't just knock off one person and say it's all the way, it's over with. You know what I'm saying?
That's real.
So I work in a way where I try to explain to people, look, there ain't no superheroes in this. You know what I'm saying? It's about the power of the people and the people becoming conscious that they are the ones that make history at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? We either give up our power to the powers that be, and we have done that most of the time throughout history. You know what I'm saying? That we fought for, the end oppression, but it'll be another class that take advantage of that and they become the new oppressors. You know what I'm saying? But my whole message to the people is that this time in our generation, if we see it in our generation or the next generation, we have to understand that we have all the power. You know what I'm saying? And when we come to power, we got to make sure we never relinquish it to another class of people that dominate and subjugate and oppress us ever again. But that takes a protracted struggle of us institutionalizing within our community those institutions that will eventually become the state. You know what I'm saying? So this is part of that protracted struggle. Like I learned again from the Black Panther Party, Mao Zedong was a big influence on me. The Chinese Revolution, when they came to power, them was people that was peasants and illiterate in the beginning, but they was able to institutionalize their revolution. So when they came to power, they wasn't taken over by a class that became the new oppressors. It eventually happened, but that's a different dynamic though. And that didn't happen until, 20 years, 25 years after the fact. You know what I mean? But that's another lesson we have to learn that when we have revolutions, like we can't have our struggles go in vain where they're reversed.
That's real. That's definitely real.
Analysis just in itself though.
Facts. So can you go ahead and get a definition of a revolutionary for the platform? Because people hear the word revolutionary, and some people have the opposite perception of what a revolutionary is. So can you go ahead and just break it down to them, brother?
So a revolutionary, in my own words, is a person that's first come to understand themselves, society, and history, and understand how those things come together in changing their social conditions. A revolutionary is a scientist at the end of the day. He's a social scientist. He or she is a social scientist. And a revolutionary is a person that sees this system that we live in here is illegitimate. You know what I'm saying? Capitalism, imperialism, colonialism is illegitimate. We will always be oppressed as a people under this system. You know what I'm saying? So a revolutionary knows that we have to organize the people where the people become conscious of their historical mission. You know what I'm saying? Just like we become, I always use this example, we all wake up at different times of the day. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way with consciousness. You know what I'm saying? When we become conscious, Franz Fanon said every generation out of relative obscurity must discover its mission, fulfill it or betray it. Once we become conscious, our duty is to show and wake up the consciousness of the people at large, you know what I'm saying, where they understand their historical mission, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, a revolution is seizing the state, seizing the state and recognizing, like, when we get rid of capitalism, the new society is going to be a new society, a new man, a new woman that's going to really be in the interest of the people, not just 1%, like how this society is ran. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
3 families, you know, 3 people own more wealth than the bottom 50% at the bottom. That's not no real society I want to live in. That's justice. That's really producing for the upliftment of the people. You know what I'm saying? So a revolutionary is first changing oneself, but reflecting that into the community and teaching the community that it's the community that ultimately has to take control of what their self-determination and their liberation and fight for that. You know what I'm saying? And unite with all the other oppressed people doing the same thing. So in essence, that's what I mean when I'm talking about revolution. I ain't talking about just changing your mind. You
Right.
know, what Karl Marx once said, philosopher says, always interpret the world. The whole point is to change it. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we saying we scientists, because when we come out here in the community and we do stuff, we draw conclusions, come back to the board and say what went right, what went wrong. And then we synthesize it and take it back to the community in order to make our social practice even more practical, more proficient, and more effective. You know what I'm saying? But
That's real.
that's what a revolutionary in essence is. It's a person that is changing their reality and helping the people change their reality collectively together for the ultimate goal of us controlling the whole society from bottom to top, from top to bottom. You know what I mean?
That's real. That's definitely real. So, when did the name come about? Like, what did your name come from? Have your name always been Kwame, or this, when you found yourself, you developed this name? Can you give us a background on when you got your name, what your name mean, and things of that nature?
So I ended up getting my name when I was in prison. I used to write this newspaper called Revolution. That was with the Communist Party, Revolutionary Communist Party. And they told me one day, that was like, you need to get a moniker, you know what I mean? Go by, instead of using your government name when you submit papers and stuff to us to be published in the newspaper. So I came up with Kwame because I always was impressed by Kwame and Nkrumah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I love the name. I just thought that name was like the coldest name ever. Kwame actually means born on a Saturday. I was born on a Tuesday, and some people point that out to me, but I was like, in my case, it was more inspired by revolutionaries. So I took on the name Kwame when I was in prison. Then when I got out, I took I would say right before I got out. Also, I took on the name Shakur because Sada Shakur and Tupac Shakur, both of them was big inspirations to me. Tupac, he was the first one really made me want to look into what the Black Panther Party was about. I was like, damn, the Tupac say they was on point. Maybe I got to check them out. You know what I mean? And Sada Shakur, I read her autobiography. She was a part of the Black Panther Party out there in New York, and also part of the Black Liberation Black Liberation Army. After I read that book of hers, it had a very, very, very profound effect on me. That was like the first sister that I was like, damn, I admired. I saw a lot of myself in her determination and perseverance. So I took that name on. When I got out of prison, I took on the name Che, largely because it's another Kwame Shakur out here. He's actually in prison here in Indiana. He's the leader of New African Liberation Collective, a good brother. But his is Kwame Lil Beans Shakur. So to distinguish us, I came up with Che, because Che Guevara was one of my biggest inspirations. I read a whole lot of his speeches. I read his diaries, biography about Che Guevara. And I always saw myself as looking at a person like Che Guevara. He's, in my opinion, he's like the epitome of what a revolutionary is. Like, he fought across the world for all of our liberation. He fought over in Congo, you know what I mean? He fought in South America and Bolivia, and he went all the way. He was from Argentina, went up to Cuba and fought with the Cuban people to get their revolution. You know what I'm saying? So I look at him as like the real international proletariat, meaning the people's people. You know what I mean?
That's real.
Or pictures all around the world. It don't matter what country, state, city around the world, you're gonna see pictures of Che Guevara because he was the people's people. You know what I mean?
That's real. And you know, just to expound a little on, you know, because on this subject, because when people hear Black Panthers, you know, they strictly think black, you know, but correct me if I'm wrong, but the Black Panthers were for everybody, for all those oppressed people. So even the white oppressed people, you know, things of that nature. Can you expound on how the Black Panthers wasn't just, you know, a black group just for the black people, but it was for all the people?
Yeah. So I'll break down this first part. The Black Panther Party, yeah, they started off as black nationalists. Then they evolved to revolutionary nationalists, which means start to encompass more of the people, you know what I'm saying, around the world. Then they became international proletariat, which means they was about the people of all nationalities across the world, from a class analysis, a real hardcore class analysis. Revolutionary nationalism has a class analysis, but international proletarianism has a real strong class analysis. And basically, one of the biggest difference, international proletarianism looks at us as all on a collective plantation. It's a global plantation. And the oppressor is capitalist. No matter if they black capitalists, white capitalists, brown capitalists, red, yellow capitalists, they are the enemy. Those are the modern day slave masters. You know what I'm saying? And all the slaves on the plantation, no matter if you're in the United States or if you're in South America, Africa, Europe, we all in the same oppressive plantation together. They just use race and nationalism and all kind of stuff to keep us separated and not seeing our commonality. Now, P. Newton evolved that to revolutionary intercommunalism. And how I analyze in revolutionary intercommunalism is a little bit different than Huey P. Newton, but strategically, it's basically saying, look, it's saying that all the slaves, when we organize on the plantation, we liberating ourselves from these particular plantations, but we always keeping in mind that the revolution, it has to continue until we all liberated on this whole global plantation. You know what I'm saying? So he recognized that the essence, and I agree with this, we have to organize our community. Black liberation starts within our community, but it must extend to human liberation. And this is where the revolutionary intercommunalism come into the place. In Chicago, when Fred Hampton founded the first Rainbow Coalition, that was the Black Panthers that came together with the Young Lords, which was Puerto Ricans. That was a Puerto Rican version of the Black Panther Party under Jose Chaca Jimenez. There was a gang that turned revolutionary. You know what I'm saying? So he organized with them, but he also organized with the white revolutionaries, which was the Young Patriots organization. Them was the white revolutionaries. And what they did was they organized their communities, but then when it came together around struggling against common things that oppress them all, they would come together and they would attack those issues together. Like when they was dealing with police brutality, they were all flooding into the police station. You know what I'm saying? They were all standing together, where they were showing that we at the bottom, you know, we the wretches of the earth, and we don't give a fuck about how y'all try to pit us together. We know that's just a tactic to keep us divided so y'all can press us individually as a demographic. You know what I'm saying? So like Fred Hampton said, he said, we don't fight racism with racism. You know what I'm saying? He said, we fight racism with solidarity. He said, we don't fight capitalism with black capitalism. We fight it with socialism. You know what I'm saying? So he understood that at the end of the day, it was at the last analysis, it was a class struggle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, race plays a part. But like Fred Hampton, the Black Panther said, racism is a byproduct of capitalism. You know what I'm saying? Like they utilize this as a tool to maintain this type of system of oppression. You know what I'm saying? It is a tool just like how they use religion to divide us, or they try to use nationalism, patriotism to divide us, where they try to make us say, oh, the Muslims is the issue, they terrorists, You know what I'm saying? They use anything to divide the people But at the end of the day, it's really not us that's enemies. You know what I'm saying? And once we open our eyes to who's the puppeteer, who's really playing the whole game on all of us, we not gonna look from side to side. We gonna look up to who that motherfucker is on the mountaintop. That's what Fred Hampton said. He said, look, we going in the valley because there's work to be done in the valley. And when we get done with the work in the valley, then we got to go to the mountaintop. He said, we going to the mountaintop because there's a motherfucker on the mountaintop playing king and he been bullshitting us. And we not here to live his lifestyle and act like he lives. No, we coming to the mountaintop to make that motherfucker understand, goddamn it, we coming from the valley. You know what I'm saying? And that's how we approach that shit. That's the Black Panther tradition right there.
That's real talk. So, I mean, with you organizing, you know, when you was in jail, you know, brothers who in prison, they're a little more structured, you know, they more willing to, you know, listen to certain things and move a certain type of way, you know. So how was it different when you came to the world? You know, when you came to the world, you know, different generation, you've been locked up, you know, over generations, you know. So, you know, how was it a difference, or was it a difference? Do you get the same reception that you get on the inside, on the outside? You know, go ahead and elaborate on some of that if you can.
So I looked at this. I looked at when I got out of prison, I came to a minimum security prison. So prison was a microcosm of this bigger prison out here. The same type of reception I was getting in prison initially, I started getting out here. You know what I'm saying? But that's due to the fact that a lot of us have a lot of distractions. A lot of people strung out on drugs, so they can't focus on the, you know, substantive stuff in their community. A lot of people caught up in, you know, the social media. That's one thing that was new to me out here. Is like how so many people is plugged into the matrix. You know what I mean? Like people distracted like a motherfucker. It is way more distractions out here than prison. You know what I mean? And that's one of the things I saw was one of the hurdles to overcome out here is to get people. And then one of the biggest things is just everyday living. Like people having to go to work. You know, a lot of people out here work 2 jobs. You know what I mean?
Thanks.
And I make this comparison all the time. Malcolm X always talked about when we were slaves, we worked from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. A lot of us doing that with 2 jobs.
Thanks.
You know what I'm saying? They wake up, it's dark, they go home and it's dark. You know what I'm saying? That's that similar comparison that we need to pay attention to. But those type of things with the necessity to survive and the fact that people have to work a lot out here just to make ends meet, the distractions, the drugs, all of those things is on a whole nother level compared to prison. You know what I'm saying? In prison, you know, you didn't have to people had to survive. A lot of them had their family though that looked out for them. You know what I'm saying? If they did have family, or even if they did work, you know what I'm saying? They wasn't working 2 jobs in prison. I don't even think you can work 2 jobs in prison.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you still had a little bit more time to read and talk to brothers, but the drugs was very bad in there. A lot of brothers in there, bro, was strung out. It's even worse now. Like everybody's hooked on. When I went in there, you had a level of consciousness. You know what I'm saying? You had the older dudes that been in there 20, 30 years that was passing on books to us and making us think, and we had dialogues and conversations. A lot of that's gone. You know, a lot of us got out. Some of that generation got out. Our generation is coming home now. So you got a lot of young people that's coming in there that didn't have no structure, didn't have maybe one parent, if they even had a parent, probably was raised by the streets, came off in there, and it's like shit. You know, it's just taking what they was doing out there to the prison now. You know what I'm saying? So prisons now is not the same prisons of when I was in there, you know, especially when I first started in 98. When I first started in 98, it's totally different now. It's a different consciousness in there. It's a lower consciousness in there. But that also helped me to realize like how to work with the brothers and sisters out here, because when I started seeing that shift, I realized like it's different creative ways that we have to reach those brothers and sisters that's locked into the matrix, like strung out on all type of stuff, and you know what I mean. And situations that, you know, like police brutality, when that happens, that them are some moments that sometimes we can bring people out and they wake up and they listen to your message, because everybody angry. They're like, they just killed they just killed bro. You know what I mean?
Real
And bro
talk.
plugged in too, where he wasn't paying attention. You know what I'm saying? But those different fleeting moments, we have an opportunity. Sitting down with the street organizations, you know what I mean? Working with the GDs and the vice lords that's out here pushing love, peace, and unity and one love. You know what I'm saying? That's an opportunity to speak to those demographics out here and get them more engaged. It's a process. You know what I mean? I think it's gonna be an ongoing process. I'm looking forward to like some of this stuff even becoming more developed as time goes on. You know what I mean? But I think after being out 7 years, I can look back in these 7 years and be like, damn, you know,
That's real.
7 years. You know what I mean?
Hey, facts. So, speaking of the GDs and vice lords, I see y'all on social media and it's being shared everywhere. You know that, you know, was it some type of meeting or something? I seen you with Ike Taylor.
Yeah.
And I seen brothers from different, you know, organizations together. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, so Ike Taylor, he moved here about 2 weeks ago. I've been in touch with Ike, man, for like I'll say since 2020. Got built a relationship after 2020. I brought him here to Indianapolis. That's when I was with the New African Black Panther Party at the time. I brought him, Benny Lee, Melvin Lamb here, and we had a community event at this church where you know, we was talking about the history of it. You dig what I'm saying? And keeping it, like, a lot of the brothers here didn't know what the history was really about. You dig what I'm saying? So hearing it from the original OGs, you dig what I'm saying? That was powerful statement that came away from that. But since then, I had built a strong relationship with Ike. You know what I mean? And when I found out he was moving here to Indianapolis, I saw a perfect opportunity, because we had already started laying the pillars and the foundation. Like the growth and development brothers and the vice lords brothers and sisters, they was already aware of each other. They knew each other. They actually did a couple things together. You know what I mean? But when it never really came together as I wanted to do, plus I was distracted by a lot of stuff that was going on in the revolutionary movement itself at that time. So I didn't have time to put a lot of investment into further developing that, you know, building up the new LSD.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
S2, you know what I mean? But when Ike told me he was moving here, and I was like, well, shit, this is a good opportunity, like, to bring some of this back together and really see if we can try to make some real headway and bringing this unity that everybody's out here talking about. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think after 2020, here in Indianapolis, and really throughout Indiana, the vice lords and GDs was pushing, you know, one love hard, pushing love, peace, and unity hard. You know what I'm saying? So it's two, as you know what I mean? It's two different cultures out here now. You got the ones that's pushing that, and then you got the ones that's stuck in, you know, that old
in the old ways. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But we slowly making progress, and I see it starting to actually take effect. You know what I'm saying? Where people are starting to, you know, recognize, like, this is our struggle too. Like, the revolutionaries and street tribes, we own this same struggle together, and that's why I promote it so big. You know what I mean? Fred Hampton was one of the first ones that showed me that, though. The Black Panthers are very good at working with the street organizations. You know what I mean?
That's real. Yeah. Speaking of Fred Hampton, how you been in contact with Fred Hampton Jr.?
I you know, I met him a couple times and everything. I just say this: a lot of people don't understand. It's a lot of different Panther movements, and not all Panther movements is on the same page. I just say that. I respect all the movements out here doing stuff in the community and stuff. But I would just say the elders in Chicago, that's the original Black Panther elders, they all love the work we doing. You know what I'm saying? So I worked real closely with Billy Cherry Brooks, Blair Anderson. He was actually in the apartment where Fred Hampton was assassinated. He got shot as well. You know what I mean? So I'm in touch with him, Bradley Green, aka Abdul. You know, all of those ones that was under Fred Hampton Sr., you know what I mean, is comrades of mine, elders that we seek advice from and guidance from. But they love the work we out here doing. You know what I'm saying?
That's what it's about.
But
That's definitely what it's about. And you named some brothers. Yeah, you named some brothers that I actually never heard of, and I'm going to do more research on them in that apartment. Because I remember Mark Clark was in as well. You know, speaking of that situation, I'm going to say a name and just, you know, tell me first thing pop in your mind, because, you know, you are doing the work of Fred Hampton. So I'm going to say the name William O'Neal.
Man,
What comes to your mind?
Man, informant.
Definitely.
Informant.
So, I'm asking you that because he was the prime example of COINTELPRO.
Yeah.
You know, and with them using brothers who look like us to bring, you know, good organizations down who trying to, you know, better the community and change the narratives. So how do you prevent a William O'Neal from coming amongst you and within your circle?
Well, we actually learned that from trial and error because we already dealt with that. That was one of the things in 2020 that was one of the things that kept me distracted from trying to work with the GDs and the vice lords at that time when we start laying a strong foundation. When I was with the New African Black Panther Party, we was actually infiltrated. Y'all can look up this one. We have proof of one person that we have absolute proof. Y'all can look up this name, Google it, Keith Malik Washington. Put in your Google search Keith Malik Washington and then put San Francisco Bayview. It'll pop up. You know what I'm saying? He was an FBI informant for 10 years working with the FBI, and he was our minister of labor for the New African Black Panther Party. You know, it's other names I could throw out there, we just don't got proof. But when I was in Florida, I believe like I had a William O'Neal situation. One of the Brown Panthers that was my security. We all think he was like an agent. I don't know if he was actually working, like he was a paid agent that was on the salary and went through school or whatever, or he was a CI. But we all believe he was an agent and stuff. And also one of the chairmen with the Black Panthers, with the Brown Panthers, we believe he was military intelligence. You know what I'm saying? So we already experienced COINTELPRO, but that's why I moved like I moved now, though. You know what I mean? That was a big, wide learning experience. Keep my circle real short, you know what I'm saying? Real small. And I move in a way where I'm always, you know, peeping the ones that I bring around me and in my circle and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
that's real.
I think that's
definitely real.
Things, but also we have to be more organic in how we build movements. Like I'm a big promoter of building up revolutionary intercommunalism in the sense of, you know, with the Second Rainbow Coalition. Instead of my organization feeling the need to blow up like the Black Panthers did in the 60s and have chapters all over the country, my approach is we work with the organizations in whatever community that's already out here. You know what I'm saying? So if it's the Brown Berets, you know, they already have stuff going on in their community, then we unite with them. If it's the Poor People's Army, we unite with them. You know what I'm saying? They're already doing the organic work in the community that's similar to the work that we're doing. So this makes it less of an opportunity for the feds and FBI and COINTELPRO to infiltrate us, because the people that's actually doing the work that we're building these coalitions with, they already have a sense of their community and the people that they're working with within their local community. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I think that's more of an organic approach of building a revolutionary movement, because you don't feel the pressure to become big and national all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? You can focus on your local issues, develop organically, locally, but then bring and work with other people that's doing the same things throughout the country. And y'all have that security of knowing your own community and the ones that you that's in your circle. I think that's one of the mistakes the New African Black Panther Party made in 2020 because we was bringing people in all over the country, starting chapters. We don't
Mm-hmm.
never met people, and you know what I mean. I think that's a erroneous approach to building up a revolutionary movement in this country. You know what I mean?
That's real. So we talked about your parents earlier, you know, far as your upbringing and things of that nature. You going to prison, you know, and now you done changed your life. So are they embracing your life change? You know, are they happy for you? They proud? How they feel about, you know, the new you?
It's ironic, man, because not everybody get the family support I do within the revolutionary circle. Some people, like, they don't have no relationship with their family no more. They don't agree with what they doing. You know what I'm saying? I think my mom and my father, my stepmother, everybody, like, they really, really proud of what I'm doing and stuff. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They might not be able to come out to all the stuff I do, but they make it they made it to some before. And you know, I send them YouTube videos. So when they miss it, you know, like my mom was just at this one that we did this past Saturday for Herman Whitfield. It's a 1-year anniversary of him being killed by the police here. Came out to support that, you know what I mean? But yeah, I got a lot. I really don't have too many people in my family that don't support, even though it's been some that spoke up and they scared for my safety, which is,
Right.
you know what I mean? But really, all my family, man, they love what I'm doing. I would love for them to be more engaged, you
Mm-hmm.
know, be boots on the ground more with what I'm doing. But as far as the support, like, yeah, I get nothing but love and support from all of them. Like, they often ask me different questions about what's going on and stuff, and they intrigued, you know, and admire the stuff. Yeah, I'm out there doing.
They're definitely real. So, you know, in closing, can you go ahead and just let the people know what you want your, you know, well, this is a kind of in-depth question, so I'm going to break it up some. So, can you go ahead and, you know, give brothers and sisters a spoken word, wise words, you know, to help them in their everyday life, their everyday struggle, or what they going